We're looking at a new series of inquiries around attachment and relationships. And one of the things that we do with that is we look at different elements of it. A few years ago, I interviewed psychologist Dr. Diane Poole Heller. She's well known for her work around attachment and relationships, works with Dr. Peter Levine with Somatic Experiencing, has many years of experience and wisdom around this. What I have in mind for the next 20 minutes or so is to play the clip. It's about 3 minutes, and she's talking in particular. And our focus this week is going to be on how traumatic memory changes our sense of time. When we look at PTSD, one of the things that comes forward is that our memories of an event, a traumatic event, will often be frozen in time. Some principles around healing trauma. One of them is that we need to be aware that we're here in the safety of this moment for our brain to know that we're not back in that moment. When we're working with traumatic memory, it's so important to do all of the grounding things. So we'll start with that. But also, if you notice that you're starting to get off into the past, then to bring yourself back. It could be as simple as opening your eyes. It could be looking around the room. It could be holding your own hands. When we're doing this witnessing thought, we're going to practice with that today. It's really important, especially when we're working with traumatic memory, because we don't want to go back into the past and experience it again. Mindfulness, the present moment awareness, the being in our body, the groundedness, that is what makes it possible for us to work with and stay present in the stability and the safety of this moment. We're not going to be working with traumatic memory today. We're going to be working with witnessing thoughts. But just as a reminder for all of us that we heal in this present moment, not in the past. If you had to summarize for people the most important things to know about trauma, how would you start them off? What would you start them with?
Well, I can say what happened for me in my personal experience, and now my personal experience has expanded to talking to many, many experts in the field. So I have a little bit of an encyclopedia of what's going on in the trauma and attachment world right now. I think it's been a huge step forward to add the somatic strategies to all of the cognitive and emotional work that we've known how to do for a long time. And really understand how to regulate the nervous system and how to take people into dark places and meet them there, but also do it slowly enough and with enough regulation processes happening, whether it's through corrective experiences or evoking physical procedural memory, like pushing away or inviting in, all sorts of different things the body signals us to do. I think that additional wisdom has made healing much, much more efficient, And the other thing that I find really helpful, I just worked with somebody right before I got on the call that had several sessions with many practitioners and just wasn't getting anywhere fast enough. I mean, a little bit would happen, but not enough to really have a deeper healing. And I worked so deeply with his what I call encapsulated child, that we might call inner child, but in a way that helps heal the intrapsychic relationship between his adult self and this wounded, very, very wounded self. And then also to bring in resources from the outside. I know in internal family systems, they only do the intrapsychic, but I also like to add who were good competent protectors for him. And as soon as we brought in more resources for this really wounded inner child, this inner child state really started to respond, and we were able to move him forward through time and to get out of the really terrible situation he was in, as well as evoke really painful feelings and process them in a way where clients can integrate as they go. That's why I think understanding physiology, the polyvagal work, the nervous system regulation, but also not shying away from bringing up threat again, but making sure that you do it in such a way that you're pendulating between stress and resource so that a person can integrate the difficult material as they go. Right. And so I know from Peter's book about traumatic memory about how that encapsulated child doesn't know that they're not still that age. Trauma stops time. And I was explaining this to my client this morning. It's like you're on the today time zone, but you're also highly influenced by the trauma history time zone. And that could be several time zones. You could have something happen at 5, something happen at 10, something happen at, 3.5. But as you release the trauma from each of those earlier ages, then all that life force and vitality and joy and creativity and rest and relaxation can become more of a foundational state for the adult self. So it's really
Mhm.
magical how
It
humans
is.
are designed to heal. I'm so impressed by how we are able to do this, because I don't know of any other species that can do. It actually has a word for it. It's called auto-noesis.
Mm.
Auto-noesis, and what auto-noesis means is that we can time travel in our consciousness. So you can get stuck at 5, but you can also heal at 5 and then release that energy and move forward in time. So it's a wonderful part of our design in terms of how our consciousness can be accessed and how we can promote healing.
There's so much there from a real expert in the field. Trauma stops time. One of the things that happens is that we time travel, and we know this. We call it ruminating when we time travel into the past, and catastrophic thinking when we entertain worst case scenarios about the future. So I thought we could do a practice of witnessing thoughts, positive, negative, and neutral. And as we're doing the practice, kind of sort them into, is this a thought about the past? Is it something about this moment? Or is it in the future? That will give us some insight and also some confidence that we can move around in time without getting stuck. Present moment awareness, coming back into the body, the breath, that's what enables us to do this in a way that's helpful and healing and that's not re traumatizing. Start by looking around the room. What time are you in right now? We were just listening to Diane Poole Heller. We were listening to a moment that happened a couple of years ago when I interviewed her. But right now, when I was listening to it, I'm here in this moment. I'm in my home. As you're looking around your space, notice you're not back in the past somewhere. You might be in the same location, but you're in this moment. And this moment is fresh. Take a couple of breaths, maybe some cyclic sighs or any kind of breath that you really enjoy. So breathing in and breathing out. Let yourself breathe. Breathing is something that only happens in the present moment. That's also something that we could remember and bring in. When we talk about healing from trauma, one of the things that we do is build this resilience and strength on staying in this present moment. There's so much hope. Dr. Gabor Mate talked about that. The definition of trauma is not what happens to us, but what happens inside of us as a result of what happens to us. And when we're talking about this, we can see if I'm really overly influenced by what happened in the past, then I'm going to be more affected by what's happening in the future and in the present. It's good to clear up some of the time traveling, not that we can prevent it or would even want to prevent it, but that we can be aware. If you are sitting comfortably and your awareness was behind your head, you're going to watch thoughts. Bring forward something neutral, whatever that might be for you. Look around the room, see there's nothing particularly upsetting. Neutral thoughts tend to not have a lot of resonance in our body. We don't tend to react to neutral thoughts. So as we're looking around, notice if there's something that feels nurturing or positive. Might be family pictures or plants or trees outside or something like that. Let yourself focus your eyes on that for a moment. And notice there might be a response in your body. I feel a little warmth in my heart area. We can direct our mind into noticing certain things, but let's let it have its own way for a moment here. Watching thought, one task is to notice, is this about the past or the future, or is just an observation about the present moment? If you bring your attention to your feet and your seat, that's present moment. I can feel my feet, I could wiggle my toes, I could relax more deeply in my chair. Let yourself be in the present moment. And that's often a way that we can establish this present moment awareness, is to be aware of those details. So, awareness behind your head, but also awareness in your body, noticing your response to thoughts, and see what comes forward in your mind. And you might be thinking about the concepts around time traveling. Our mind goes back into the past and it can get stuck in the past, but we can also go back into the past and heal. That we can use the capacity of our brain, neuroplasticity, to change. What's coming up for you? Let's watch our thoughts. And not to get too far into a train of thought, but just to notice this is about the past, this is about the future, or this is something that's here right now. Our minds are pretty fluid, going back and forth usually. You might also notice, is it positive, negative, or neutral? And if so, what's the response in your body? And you might experiment a little with bringing up a positive memory from the past. Could be from half an hour ago or from 30 years ago. Bring up a positive memory from the past. And if a bunch of them come in, you could cycle through them or just focus on one. And how is it coming in? Is it a visual, sound, scent? Maybe you were doing something fun with somebody. Notice any change in your body as you're thinking about this positive memory from the past. The thing about memories is that they often time travel even within one memory. So you might have a memory of something that happened in the past. Like the other day when I was swimming, and I can project into the future with that too. I'm going swimming later today. I can anticipate something positive happening again. As you're working with this positive memory from the past, notice what happens if you deliberately move into the future with it, or if you're just watching it and it moves into the future. And it might not be just positive once you start thinking about the future. Maybe right now in the present, you're feeling some grief that that's not likely to come again. Maybe your positive memory is with someone who's no longer available, or your body is not suited for that anymore. As we're projecting into the future, right now in this moment, we might be feeling a lot of emotion around grief or something else. Sit with that for a minute. And we might also look at, what does that mean about me? Sometimes we might have some judgment going on or some appreciation. Look at how brave I was that I got up and spoke in front of that group. And in this moment, you might be feeling some energy around that in your body. Maybe a vow to never do it again. Or maybe, I kind of enjoyed that. Notice as your mind is kind of roaming through your personal thoughts about this, just continue to notice past, present, or future. We time travel just watching this, and stay on the positive or neutral side. If something that's more difficult comes in, open your eyes, come back to this moment. We're just doing a practice. Remember to breathe. A lot of the tools that we use are things that we practice. Like if I notice I'm going into the past, or if I notice that I've got catastrophic thinking about the future, then I bring myself back into the present. Sometimes we let that go. Okay, here I am thinking about this thing from the past. I notice that I'm starting to react to it a little bit. If it's positive, I might be feeling warm and breathing more deeply, relaxing my body. And then if I just stay with that, some other thoughts are going to come in, because that's what thoughts do. And so I might notice, I have a thought about, I really miss that, or I'm still doing that. I really appreciate that. We start to comment on our thoughts. We might go into the future. Notice what you've learned about yourself and your mind just in this last 20 minutes of listening and then doing this little practice of observing, witnessing thoughts. It's such a good practice to do as we're going along. I've done that many times. To notice when thoughts interrupt your meditation, what are they about? Is it about the past or the future? Just reflect for a moment what you learned about what Dr. Poole Heller was talking about, but also what you learned about yourself in that exercise of watching thought. Noticing how the time travel happens very naturally between the past, the present, and the future. Come back in your body, notice what you feel like in your body, take a few breaths. And that would be a really great practice if you're interested in taking that on as homework, to spend a little bit of time each day and give yourself an assignment. Okay, today I'm really going to focus on something positive from the past, and then I'm going to look and see how that's flowing through into the future. What am I feeling about that right now? Am I feeling grief or sadness that it is no more? Or am I anticipating, like, I'm going to get to go for a swim later? Notice the patterns of your mind, and also that we can be aware of what it is that's going on. When we're working with trauma, we're working with the safety in the present moment, and that is how we are not stuck in the past. We're able to process what's going on from the present moment.